SADHGURU'S teachings.
I'm sure people in Pakistan don't aspire for anything else, they also aspire for their well-being. It is just that certain forces in every nation behave like they represent every human being in that country, but it is not true. The political leadership can only set agenda, can only make policy, but the real nation happens depending upon how the business will buzz in this country. Well, this is a rags to riches story, but still consciously remains in rags. How many people can do this? There is no such thing as this is my life and that is your life. This is a living cosmos.
At this time we have of raised tensions, how do you ask people to move forward, how to do things in a way which allows them to find a common ground?
When we invest in problems, problems multiply. It would be wise to invest in solutions. But in a democratic nation, when you take everybody's opinions and emotions and considerations, it's very difficult to move in any one direction. But I feel this wouldn't be a very difficult problem to solve if there is an abstinence from daily violence that's unleashed in the form of terror. The old philosophy of 1,000 cuts is still being executed. When that's going on, it becomes very difficult to even talk about a solution. Aspiring for peace is definitely in everybody's heart, but when it is being declared by the proponents of this violence very clearly, our goals are not geographic. That is, Kashmir is not the goal. Once we liberate Kashmir, we will liberate the rest of India. When these things have been clearly stated, I don't see how you can talk with the same people endlessly peace because it's ridiculous. So I feel the region has to make efforts to bring an economic prosperity. I think if the rest of the countries show economic prosperity, I'm sure people in Pakistan don't aspire for anything else, they also aspire for their well. It is just that certain forces in every nation behave like they represent every human being in that country, but it is not true. You should see the bonhomie that Indians and Pakistanis have outside the country. When they're outside that region, the political leadership can only set agenda, can only make policy, but the real nation happens depending upon how the business will buzz in this country. Well, I know there are difficulties, I know there are challenges, there are problems of corruption, there are problems of variety of things, roadblocks all over the place, but this is our time. We can talk about glorious past, it doesn't matter. This is our time on this planet. Whether we will make this the greatest time in history of humanity or we will make it the worst time is all in our hands. There are many challenges. There are ecological challenges, there are nourishment challenges, there are organizational challenges, there is investment challenges, but the possibility is so big that these problems look small in terms of what is possible for this nation. India as a nation has a great future because, as I said earlier, without evolving great human beings, there is no great nation. This has been our strength. We have never been a very organized process, but individual genius always unfolded in this country because we did not believe anything. We were always seekers. This is not a religion, this is understanding the intelligence of ignorance, understanding that the phenomena of life is always on full fire if you are in a seeking mode. If you come to your believing mode, you settle down. But when you're in a seeking mode, you're continuously on fire. So this fire we have exhibited for thousands of years, we should not lose this fire. because this is where our growth is, this is where our future is.
When we look at Sadhguru riding a bike, flying a plane, playing golf, mentoring CEOs or collaborating with CEOs of the companies, they feel that because योग में तो ऐसा नहीं है. On the other hand, when they see Baba Ramdev, being someone who's discussed, and I've been in so many meetings where he is discussed as someone who's a strategic mind of how marketing should be done in today's India, and he's found an innovative way of doing it. And there is, of course, his company is a case study. Is there a contradiction at all, or there is none between this yoga and bhog?
Certain people think either yoga or the spiritual process or spirituality is some kind of a disability. That's their understanding, unfortunately. If spirituality is a disability, we should ban it immediately. Why practice a disability? Spirituality is a way of empowering yourself in such a way that we can enhance life to a point where other people will think it's superhuman. Because as life we have only two ingredients. There is time and there is energy. It is only the energy we can manage. By accumulations, your life is not enhanced. Maybe in other people's eyes you're enhanced. As a life you are no way enhanced. Only by enhancing your energy, only by having mastery over this, do you have access and purchase into this life. Because time is not in your hands, it's just rolling away for everybody. Wherever I go, people are asking this question, Yogi is doing business, is it all right? Well, this is a rags to riches story, but still consciously remains in rags. How many people can do this? Huh? It's a total rags to riches story, but consciously remains in rags. That's not a simple story. We're missing the whole point. Sannyas means indiscriminate passion towards everything, but dispassion towards myself. If you have dispassion towards everybody, I think that's a crime.
My question is, how do I see or understand Adiyogi as a Swayambhu, which is self-born, and Aja as unborn, since both are contradictory? Also, he is referred as limitless and nothingness. So can you please state your opinion?
So Adiyogi literally means the first yogi. A yogi means who consciously obliterated all boundaries around him. This is my body, that's your body. This is my mind, that's your mind. But I want you to understand, there is no such thing as this is my life and that is your life. This is a living cosmos. If you identify with the fundamental life process, it's not here, it's just happening all over the place. So in that sense, we are saying he is limitless, because he is not sitting there as a body, nor is he sitting there as a psychological structure. Both these things are outside influences on you. About him being a Swayambhu, it means that he is self-made, everything that he is. See, today you're sitting here, you may not be conscious, but your father, mother, your grandparents and their grandparents and their grandparents, if you go 100,000 generations, all of them are in some way living through you. What you call as myself right now is not you. It is a consequence of a huge amalgamation of memory. A little bit you have added your character to it, but rest of it is all come to you from somewhere else. So when we say a Swayambhu, because he is no way using his ancestry, no way using the faculties or the memories of the body, he has placed himself above that. He is completely himself, not a consequence of history, not a consequence of genetics, but he's all by himself. So we call him, he's totally self-made, or he's a Swayambhu. When we say health, if someone says you have no ailment, it does not mean you're healthy. When you wake up in the morning, are you feeling alive and bouncy or not? The word health comes from the word whole. You must have a certain sense of wholeness of body, mind, energy and the fundamental nature of your existence. If all these things are in alignment, now when you wake up in the morning, you feel like you're just born. If this happens to you, that means you're healthy. One simple thing all you girls can do is just bring 40 to 50% of the food in its raw form, that means it's alive. It must be a live cell, it can be a vegetable, it can be a fruit, it can be a nut, it can be sprouted gram. At least 40 to 50%, the food that you eat must be alive. You eat dead food and you want to live, it's a little difficult thing to do, because you have to raise the dead now. When you cook the food, to digest the food, all the ingredients necessary for digestion are not in the body alone. The food also brings these enzymes. When you cook the food, you are largely destroying these enzymes. Minus the enzymes when you eat, now the body has to struggle to reconstruct that part that has been destroyed, and then only it can digest. Normally, first 1.5 hours after eating, it tends to take the body down. After that, slowly, it recovers. Have you noticed this? So food is for energy, but we are making the food in such a way that it takes away energy in the first 1.5 hours. Only after that, slowly, it comes back. Anyway, however good your digestive process is, still you can never reconstitute all the enzymes that we have destroyed by cooking. Only partly we can do that. If your digestive process is very strong and good, you reconstitute about 40 to 50% of what's been destroyed. If it is a little timid kind of digestion, it's much less. So whichever way, if you're eating cooked food, 50 to 60% of the food that you're eating is generally going waste. But the body has to still process that. And the amount of energy that it spends and the amount of trauma that it goes through is very big. Food means many things to many people, but essentially for the body, it's the fuel. If you put the right kind of fuel, this will be on in a certain way. If you put the wrong kind of fuel, somehow it will manage. I'm not telling you eat this way, eat that way, just experiment and see, all right? Just experiment and see. Tonight if you go, instead of eating whatever cooked food, just eat fruits and see, tomorrow morning you will not need an alarm bell, you will wake up before the alarm bell. And you will see all these eyes will not be sticking like this, like that, you wake up, instantly you're bright and alert. People do not know what it means to be at absolute ease within their body. 95% of the people do not know this, unfortunately. Because you put the wrong kind of fuel, you can keep this body like breeze. Simply, it goes ahead of you, you don't have to drag it wherever you go. It must float ahead of you. You can do this, just putting the right kind of fuel. Your body should sleep, your mind should sleep, everything should sleep, but you must be awake. Every day, you have free enlightenment when you go to sleep. But the problem is you're unconscious. You master your mortality if you just manage to stay awake when you slip into sleep. There are various aspects to that which we refer to as Shiva. The boundless reality is referred to as Shiva. The greatest of the yogis has been referred to as Shiva. His dance is referred to as Shiva, his music is referred to as Shiva, his stillness is referred to as Shiva. But of all this, he being a yogi is of the greatest importance in terms of opening up a door of possibility for every other human being. Somebody may be many things, but for the world, that dimension which is a possibility for the world is the most important thing. So he being a yogi is the most important thing. Being a yogi means many things. One aspect of a yogi is that he sleeps in his wakefulness and is awake in his sleep. That this must be fully awake, but if you check the parameters of the body, it must be asleep. In sleep, everything should be asleep, but you must be awake. Your body should sleep, your mind should sleep, everything should sleep, but you must be awake. When you fast asleep, you are in perfect tune with the existence, one with the existence, isn't it? Nature has given you this. If you've forgotten, every day when you go to sleep, it makes you one with the existence. In the same sense of unity, if you can wake up and walk around, you made it, isn't it? Every day, you have free enlightenment when you go to sleep. But the problem is you're unconscious. So the sadhana essentially is just this, that from wakefulness when you go to sleep, a certain part of you goes to sleep, a certain part of you, if it still stays awake, then you made it. Otherwise, when you wake up, a certain part of you still continues to sleep, then you made it. If you're awake and fast asleep at the same time, you're asleep and awake at the same time, this is called turiya. If you are in a state of turiya, we say you are a mrutyunjay. That means you're deathless. Because if you can be awake in your sleep, you will also be awake when you have to shed the body. So there is no question of death for such a person. Because life and death are happening at the same time. It is only the ignorant who think, right now I'm alive and one day I will die. No, both are happening at the same time. They are not two different things actually, only for the sake of understanding, we have to divide them. Otherwise it's just life and life. One dimension of life and another dimension of life. So this transition from one dimension of life to another becomes an easy doorway. Every day you have this doorway available to you, that is, between wakefulness and sleep is as good as life and death. If you know how to exploit this doorway, if you stay alert till that last moment, do you ever know when you actually slept off? You think you're there, but after some time, you don't know when you slept. If you can take yourself to that moment, it's as good as being conscious at the moment of death. You master your mortality if you just manage to stay awake when you slip into sleep. This is an opportunity for you. The best preparation for death is make an attempt to try to fall asleep consciously. Instead of drifting away, if you shift from wakefulness to sleep consciously, death will become a play. So, the moment of sleep is a tremendous opportunity. If you sleep in a certain way, tomorrow morning when you wake up, you can be significantly one notch up. Every day you have this opportunity to practice death. If you can manage that moment, like, you can do this consciously, right? Just like that, from wakefulness to sleep. If you can do it that way, that's it, you're mrutyunjay.